So here's the question. What do you create first, your characters or the plot line of the story? And can you talk about your technique? I'm going to go to George on this one first.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the story. Some stories start with a plot, right? Like I just have an idea, like that'd be interesting, like an idea, right? Like, oh, what would that look like? What would happen if I did that? And then other stories start with just the character, like I've done both. Like my Rust story that's coming out, it started with a character, right? It just started with a doodle. I drew something on a page and I was like, what do I do with this guy? And then the story comes after. The story came after that, and then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then with Wonder Duck, it was a world, right? I just wanted, it was just an entire world, and I just wanted to fit something in there. What fits in here? Oh, this character fit in there. So it really depends on the story and the idea that comes into my head. I don't really have. I can't really tell you. Oh, it's just one thing. It's just that every single time it's a character every single time, and this is how I develop it. It changes. It usually varies.
Okay. Awesome. Let's go to Tony on this same question.
I start with the plot. I flesh that out first, even before characters have official names. And then when I develop the characters and give outlines for them, I then revise the plot and just to make sure that like these are the things that they would do based on their personality traits that I gave them.
Oh, okay. Interesting. How about you, Nandor? Same question.
I'm going to throw a little curveball. I try to... My stories somewhat come about in tandem between the plot and character. I really can't differentiate them. There's usually an idea, and a lot of my stories, they're all very character driven. And so I have an idea that, I think is interesting, but it all falls into the lap of a character, and then what I want to put that character through, and that creates the plot. So that kind of it kind of works in that sequence where, I really want the reader, I really want the person who is experiencing the story to feel what the character is feeling, and so to do that, the plot really comes from the character themselves and how the character relates to the world and what they're going to go through. They inform each other, I think is the best way to put it, where, I can't really separate them, because if I tried to force this character in the plot, it wouldn't really work. And if I tried to force the plot into the character, it wouldn't work either. So, it's kind of like a dance between the two. And that's kind of how I approach it.
Gotcha. Johnny, do you have anything to add, or do you see one over the other when you create?
Not particularly. I think it's all kind of, again, the same, where it's a little bit of the same across of, everything what everybody has said. In particular, like George is like, sometimes it starts with a character, sometimes it starts with a scenario. As we were talking before, I literally opened up my writing folder to look at just all the notes I jotted down of like stories that I may or may not get to, and like looking at one of them, like I labeled it. It was the name of the script would be Dalton, and in parentheses was Old Drunk Sad Spy. Okay, so you can only imagine what the notes in that folder is about. Yeah. You know what I mean? Actually, I opened it up. It's like, okay, I got it from listening to this podcast in reference to this episode of a TV show. This is it. This was the character in reference.
Do you write that stuff down in your folder?
Yeah, I can share my screen to show you if you want to see it. But it's like I make the detail, because if I ever have to go back and capture the same feeling of what I had heard to give me the idea, it's now there. I can pull up the podcast. Oh, nice. I can pull up the episode. It's all there.
That's a great idea.
Where I can refer
I never
back
thought
to
do that.
Yeah, and then again, it's been something I've been sitting on forever. I don't even know if I'm ever gonna make it. But it's there, you know what I mean? So again, that was one that started with a character, Old Drunk Spy. Something gave me the inspiration for that, and that's kind of the seed that's sitting there waiting to be, tended to.
Yeah, no, I might start adopting that. That is such a great idea, because, like I said earlier, like sometimes I'll hear a line in a movie and it'll spark an entire idea, or something like that. But like with me too, I think I see the plot before I see characters most of the time. Like it comes from that one, like I said, I get the elevator pitch idea in my head, and then I start developing it further from there. Sometimes months and months and months, just figuring out what it's going to be and who the characters that revolve around it are, and what they, you know, like Tony was saying, the outline for those characters and what their arcs are and things like that.
I also think it's kind of dependent upon what you're trying to say, though, too, right?
It does.
Because like, if I'm going to write a story about an old drunk spy, is it really about him versus himself and his age and his shitness versus what the actual mission and the task is? So what am I trying to tell there, right? So I guess that's kind of definitively how am I going to approach that?
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Harry, did you have anything to add to that question?
I was going to say maybe the old drunk spy could be the later version of Tony's character from as an older detective.
Hey.
You know, you never know. You could find the idea.
Well, it is a noir, and you never know, hand in hand with it. So.
or it's James Bond because he's an alien, and that's why he's sad and dry.
Wait! Isn't noir like a champagne noir? Is there like a noir in there? Is that what you just said?
Like a Pinot Noir?
Yeah, Pinot Noir. That's the connection, you know.
Yeah.
The drunken. It's a Pinot Noir.
He was an old spy that retired and became a sommelier.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. That's the show, Jerry.
That's it. Harry, thanks for cracking it for me.
Gonna get Johnny, pull the notebook up and put that in there. Okay, Indie Comics Relay, March 11th.
Right.
There was a couple more comments here. Roland said, either I start with an idea or a design and try to repurpose other concepts to work with it. And Ben Soto said, that's a great idea, Johnny. So there you go.
Appreciate it. I need to find a good artist.
If anyone in the chat has a question for the roundtable, definitely put it in the chat and we'll work it into the show.
Yes.
It's almost like a captain's log almost.
Yeah, captain's log. There you go.
You can mark the time and everything.
What?